Attention bobsled riders! You will soon be embarking on a thrilling podcast down the icy slopes of the Matterhorn. So please remain seated, keeping your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the bobsled at all times. Auf Wiedersehen!
Hello, Yodlers. We are the Matterhorn Yodlers. I'm your host today, Jackie, and we have...
Oh, it's Pooh Bear. I don't have a Winnie the Pooh voice, so...
It's
sorry.
Peter.
I ruined it. Oh, bother. Oh, bother.
We have...
I'm Javid.
And...
Father Yodeler.
And today we are going to be talking about Disney Legends. This is a award that Disney...
It's the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, basically.
Disney Hall of Fame.
Yeah?
It's got the coolest trophy, though.
Huge
Beautiful.
thing.
It's
Beautiful.
heavy.
I saw one on an auction, and I was all like, that is cool.
Yes.
It was the last one I did, and, like, his estate went up for
Right.
auction. I was, like, looking at it. I was like, how much did it go for? How much did it go for? Like, I was just...
You bet your butt those
But the
people
thousands of dollars.
Because he had, like, all his original artwork
Yeah.
that was going through.
And so we all picked a person that has received this award, and we will be reviewing parts
Or
of the-
posthumously. Well, mine wasn't alive for his award.
Yeah.
This is something that started
Same
in,
with
like,
mine.
the 90s.
Mine was. He was still
Was it
alive.
88?
I
or-
think it was the 80s.
Late 80s?
Yeah, when
Yeah.
it started.
It's an Eisner thing.
Yes. And so we all selected them a person to review their achievements.
Yeah,
in the
why
Disney
why
company.
they were selected.
Yeah. And we're going to start with Peter.
All right. Yes. I know. I'm not used to going first. So I picked Sterling Holloway.
Gotta love Sterling Holloway.
He's a great person. So
Why do we like Sterling Holloway?
he is
Holloway?
a very well-known Disney voice actor. He basically voiced. He is probably one of the most famous Disney voices of the Disney company because he voiced Winnie the Pooh,
Original.
the
Winnie.
original Winnie the Pooh.
It's funny. There's a meme out there where it has like Pooh in a dialogue, and then the last scene is like, "I bet you dialogued this in my voice, didn't you?" And you're like, "Yeah, I did. I used Pooh's voice to dialogue." And like, here we're gonna talk about him.
Yep.
He's in your head.
That's it. But he did a lot of voices going all the way back to Dumbo and Bambi. So like he was early age working with.
So in the
Disney.
40s,
Yeah.
Do you know who he did in Dumbo?
Yes.
was he one of the clowns?
No.
He was the stork.
Okay.
Oh.
He delivered Dumbo. Well, yeah.
He sang "Happy Birthday."
Hmm.
He said, "Oh, it's part of the service. Happy birthday to you."
Was this to President Kennedy?
I know, right?
That's what it sounded
Hello,
like.
Mr.
Mr.
President.
President. Happy birthday.
He's got this
Sorry, I
weird-
went
he's got
Hannibal
a-
Lecter on that one.
He's got a high pitched voice. Like
I
he's-
ate his cake with some fava beans.
Okay.
But just a little bit about him and where he came from and where he kind of got into filming and things like that. So he was born January 14th, 1905. So he's just a little older, a little younger than Walt Disney. He was named after his father. Eventually, he, was interested in doing voice work from watching movies and things like that. And so that just kind of got him into moving out to Hollywood to start performing in movies with his voice.
Did you ever do
voice
radio?
acting. No, not really. He just started right into films and shorts. But I believe his first thing he ever did was in 1927, called Casey at the Bat, which not the Disney one.
I was gonna say, that's
That's not the
that's what
Disney
the
one.
Disney one was
No.
like in the 40s, wasn't it?
Yeah, in the
Right.
early 30s, I just recently saw him in a Frank Capra film as a bank teller or bank employee. And I went, is that Sterling Holloway? And sure enough, it was.
But this guy has been in over 100 movies.
He's a Samuel L. Jackson.
Like I was just going through, and I was like, oh my gosh, like he's in so much.
Great character actor.
Great character actor. I mean, obviously, like, yeah, you'll know him from Dumbo. You'll also one of his famous shorts for Disney, Peter and the Wolf.
Peter and the Wolf.
Oh yeah.
That was all him. Obviously, he was Kaa the snake in Jungle Book. So
Lambert the sheepish lion.
Yep, Lambert the sheepish lion.
Loved it. Peter Wolf. Yeah, Peter and the Wolf.
Oh, the narrator.
Yes. Well, and he voices all the characters too, as if he's reading a book.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, he just did a lot of voices for a lot of different movies. You know, and not even most of his movies weren't even with Disney, but obviously he became famous through doing the Disney.
Yeah, once you got in, like you just tell, like they used a lot of the same voice actors, like in that late '60s through the '70s. It wasn't until like the new guard came over and took over.
Oh, I'm sorry. He was in a short in 1926 called "The Battling Kangaroo," a short film. But yeah, he performed all the way up till 1977, which was one of the last ones. Was him doing Winnie the Pooh, The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh.
Ah, he did the final of because that was a trilogy of
Right.
shorts that were brought
Put
together.
Yep. He also was in Aristocats, so you guys might recognize that.
Trying to remember what character he played there.
He was a mouse.
That's what I thought.
Ah,
Well, as soon as
yes.
you said that, I thought of a mouse.
Yep, the
That's
Roquefort.
right.
Yep. And then he retired after 1977. He didn't really do much after that. He did, every once in a while, like he would come back to do several voices just to rephrase things for recordings for Disney, but like nothing official. In fact, it was the voice actor who plays Owl, who later replaced him after he retired, and then after that was Jim Cummings. That was the person I originally wanted to speak about, but he's not a Disney legend, so I couldn't talk about Jim Cummings.
That's
He's got a
crazy.
big
That's crazy.
resume as well.
That's why I was surprised to hear that Jim Cummings wasn't a Disney legend. I was like, what? Like, he is a voice of, yeah, absolutely.
Don't worry, Whoopi Goldberg's in there.
Yeah.
I know, right? Carrie Fisher, such a, But, yeah, I mean, there really wasn't much about him, which surprised me. I went on YouTube, and all I see were just his movie clips, and, and he just played a lot of little roles, which is fine. And he never got married. He did adopt a son. But, yeah, he had a very simple life where he just went from movie to movie, just doing these small roles, and
But for me, I grew up in the 60s, and so, Kaa from The Jungle Book was the first Disney movie that I went to the movie theaters that first came out, and Kaa was just
right.
fantastic, and Winnie the Pooh came out about the same time.
Yep.
So, yeah, a lot of love for Sterling Holloway.
He got the Disney Legend Award in 1991, and then he passed away in 92.
Oh, so he was alive
He
when
was
he got
alive
it. Oh,
when he
that's
got it.
great.
So
It's good that people get that recognition.
Oh, he was
Yeah.
also the first voice actor to receive the Disney Legend Award.
Oh.
So
That's great.
Holy-
And it was what year he got the
91?
91.
Okay.
So, yep. That's him.
Did Walt Disney ever get a Disney Legends Award?
Did Walt Disney? I don't think Walt Disney has gotten a Walt Disney Legend
I was
Award.
just curious.
No.
He's
It's
not.
kind of his name.
Walt
on
Disney
it.
don't care.
recognizes Walt Disney.
I'm just curious.
Well, his wife has one, so
That's right. We're looking forward to
Oh, he's
when,
also the Cheshire Cat. Forgot
What?
that mention.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
When the Matterhorn Yodelers received their Disney Legend Awards.
Our great contributions.
There's never been so many 3-bar Mickey bar reviews.
All of our movies are average, except for The Rocketeer.
Rocketeer. That is gold.
I could read I could read Mickey Bar that one.
Peter's rendition of Choose Your Fate of Star Wars.
Right?
They'll highlight that.
That's right.
The Antebellum, Carrie Fisher. Oh my!
All right, I chose Harriet Burns,
Lovely lady.
lovely lady.
Who's Harriet Burns?
She is an Imagineer, and we'll
Oh,
get into that. She was actually the very first woman Imagineer, and so 1953, she moved from Texas to LA with her newborn child and husband, which I thought was interesting. I'm like, you're moving to LA and you're working. So in the 50s, like for a woman to work in the 50s, like that's not common. And so it just kind of shows her character. And so she started to work for a company called Dice. Worked on different projects, TV show sets, Las Vegas hotel interiors. She worked on the Santa Village in Southern California.
Oh yeah.
hey, Mother Yodeler worked there.
Mother Yoder worked there.
She was a cast member for
Yeah.
Santa Village.
Then Dice went out of business, and so then she got a painting and designing sets with Disney for the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse TV show. And then she moved and started working on Disney models with Fred Georger and Wayfield, I don't know, Rogers. And they just became like a powerhouse team. They worked really well. They were able to get a lot of good work done. Some of the things she did, the Bluebird in Mary Poppins, she designed that Bluebird that Mary Poppins talks to. And Walt had asked her to work on Disneyland in her spare time on her other projects.
He's asking everyone to do
So,
something.
some people go to like LA Fitness and work out, and Walt's like, "No, what you're gonna do on your free time? You're gonna do birds." Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
It was funny because there was a quote, and she says there was a lot of hesitation from the employees at the studios, and they said of Walt's like crazy park in the orange trees. There was like, it says, there was a quote that says, "I don't know if they're gonna go that far to a children's play park." And so the employees were hesitant. They're like, "Who's gonna go this far to an orange grove to
let's-
play in a
a lot of
park?"
people.
And then he's so smart to put it all on national TV and get everybody in the nation going, I want to go there.
I want it works.
Yep.
Putting stuff on TV
But it
sells.
was interesting to hear, like, there was a lot of hesitation from the employees. They're like, what is Crazy Walt doing this time?
When you're a pioneer,
Yeah.
everybody says, you're crazy.
Yeah, so Harriet became, so when they were building Disney, Harriet became the first woman, not clerical. Is that how you say that? Yeah,
Yeah, clerical.
Yeah.
I mean, if you weren't like ink and paint, they had a lot of women in ink and paint
Yeah,
department.
but this is an Imagineering.
But this is Imagineering, yeah.
She was the first WED employee as an Imagineer. And I was listening to some interviews from other Imagineers of like their impression. She was a very well-styled individual, very well liked. Everyone loved her. Everyone loved talking to her. Just a genuine, nice individual.
Yeah, she fit in.
Yeah. She knew how to work a crowd. And so Harriet explained that in those first years of the model shop was in a boxcar because there was like no space in the animation building. So Walt would just like stuff all the like oddball people down in this little box car, and we were with the machine shop, which was great for us because it had all the tools and all the power tools and so forth, and still there were only 3 of us, so that made for a wonderful relationship with Walt, very informal, and he would just come down when he had a chance from the animation building.
Wow.
Yeah. Harriet helped with her set design skills and helped put like finishing touches on Disney.
So she's a polisher.
Yeah.
Like there's that person that like they won't put up any ornaments on the tree, but then they come in at the end and they're like, why about we put this here or there? And then everyone's like, that looks amazing. And then there's like me going, I spent the last 4 hours putting up the ornaments and you move one thing and you're like, ta-da. And I'm just sitting there going, I hate Christmas now. You ruined it.
Right?
Yeah. So some of the things that she had her hand in was Main Street, Fantasyland Dark Rides. She contributed multiple models of Sleeping Beauty Castle.
She the one that did the Matterhorn? Or the Candy Mountain?
Oh, Candy Mountain.
I don't
Was
think
that her
so.
or was it somebody
No.
I
else?
think it was somebody else.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and Walt liked her design.
Sounds like a Mark Davis
Probably.
thing. But I could be wrong. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I've got drawings in his book. Yes.
Okay.
Mark Davis
There we go.
did draw the Candy Mountain.
So fun fact, Walt Disney liked her design of the castle with the blue roof on the castle. It made it look like the sky to make it look taller. So
To stretch to that illusion.
yeah, so she helped contribute to that look, which I thought that was interesting.
And then Roy Disney ruined it all by making that monster castle in
Yeah.
Walt Disney
Yeah.
World, and now everybody goes
"It's
back
so
to Disneyland and
small."
say, "Oh, that's so small."
Yeah. When you were going from Disneyland to Disney World, you're like, wow, what a castle.
Yeah.
And then you go over here and you're like, man, they really need to fix that castle. This is like not impressive.
That's what happened with Hong Kong is that they're eventually, because they just got the regular Disneyland castle there, and then eventually they're like, the people of Hong Kong were like, we want a cooler castle. Can we have a cooler castle? And so they got a new castle.
Yeah.
They'll never change Disneylands though.
No, they can't.
No.
It's Walt's.
Disneyland's
Walt's
got to
castle.
kind of stay a museum in some aspects.
Yeah.
Mhm.
She built a lot of the miniatures in Storybook Land. She helped design New Orleans Square. She worked on the 1964 World Fair, Lincoln, Carousel Progress.
I think all the Imagineers
Yeah.
that were around at that
You
time
got a
were doing
pulse?
it.
You're with us.
Yep.
This
Yeah.
is one of the reasons why we moved away from doing Windows and went to Disney Legends, because it was just like Windows was just Imagineers doing all the same projects.
Yeah, she helped finishing touches on animatronics such as the birds in the Tiki Room, Pirates, Small World, Ghost in Haunted Mansion, Lincoln. There's a quote that says from her, she says, "Good enough was not for Harriet. It had to be perfect." Harriet was working on Storybook Land when she created little beveled like stained glass windows for Geppetto's village. There were 360 little pieces that were laid out on a board.
There's so much detail in it. You're kind of sad that you're going by so fast.
Yeah. So she had all these pieces on the board, and Walt decided to pick up the board, and all the pieces dropped.
Oh.
He's like, my bad. Pick it
Yeah.
up.
I would have loved
Pick
to
it
see
up.
Walt's face would be really interesting to see, like, what was his face in that moment of like, well, I'm leaving now. Sorry.
That just cost me.
Hey, Mark, what do you got going on over there? I gotta go. I say, Mark's calling my name. My bad. I gotta go. He's like, I got a cell phone. Bring. Gotta go.
She also appeared with Walt on the Wonderful World of Color with all of her models.
Yes.
And there's another quote.
Was
says,
that for New Orleans?
No, it's just for Disneyland.
Okay. I did New Orleans Square. I was trying to
You're
remember which
thinking of
episode.
which one?
I think she was on a couple of times.
Okay.
It says
They didn't want the guys, the mutants down in Wed. They're like, you're not TV ready.
Yes.
Harriet, come over here. It's not even my project. You look decent. You got like Toothless Jim over there. Like, well, we did it down here. Put the boat here. Well, it's like, no.
Walt did have a few of those on his show. It's not to say that he never did. He did have some of those people on his show.
Ratings went way down that episode.
I want to be just like him.
Dude,
I make Disneyland rides.
There's a quote that says, "For a woman in a man's world, she always held held in high regard and was a magnetic force that drew people together."
She knew where all the tools were, and she was all like, what'd you got to say?
Yes, ma'am.
She always had a hammer.
She worked for the company for 31 years, retired in 1986. In 1992, she was honored with a window. She was the first woman to receive a window. And in 2000 was named a Disney legend and passed away in 2008.
She probably got cut during like that riff after Epcot was done.
Probably.
There was a lot of people that were like, you know what, you're done.
Well,
We don't have anything else going on right now.
Other projects, yeah.
Or you're probably just like, I'm done. I don't want to do any more of this.
Well, I mean,
There was a lot of Imagineers that didn't want to be a part of Disney after that point. I
Because
mean,
you went from like
Bob
Magic
Gurr was one
Kingdom,
of those.
Epcot, and then boom, like you have Japan going on at the same time. You've got that's like a huge burnout time.
Bob Gurr was happy when he got let go. He's all like, I can breathe for once.
the thing is, Harriet, she was a working mom. Like,
Sure.
during, you're reading all these projects she worked on. It wasn't like she had all the spare time. These were big projects she was working on.
She's got it's impressive what she was doing.
She's got fan pages, like,
Of
on
course, yeah.
things. And so you gotta appreciate her work that she provided towards the company. And inspiration to women, too, in the company.
Girl power.
Yeah. All right. Father Yodeler?
I have Lee Harlan, or as I learned from studying this, apparently it's pronounced Lee Harleen as my legend. And you may be wondering, who's Lee Harleen? And he's the heart of Disney now.
He always has to pull the heartstrings on us.
He's the heart of
I don't want to go last. I don't want to. Like, you can make it so hard for me to follow.
He is the spirit of Disney.
And I'm all like, my guy he did like the xylophone skeleton. You can end on that one. Jeez.
Oh, Lee Harlan is the heart of Disney because he's the one who wrote the tune and orchestrated the tune of When You Wish Upon a Star. And if that isn't the theme song of Walt Disney, I don't know. I mean, the Walt Disney Company in all its aspects, that's it. And
Yep.
so
It was the best part of the movie Wish.
Yeah.
Was when they put that in the end.
Yeah.
It pretty much saved that movie.
Yeah.
It really did. Like that end credit scene where you hear the grandpa playing the song and you're like, boom, best part right there.
I only had to watch an hour and a half of this.
he did not write the words.
No.
But he wrote the tune, and that tune is powerful because when it plays without the words, you know what it is, and it's just a magical thing. So Lee Harlan, his story is that he was born in March 26, 1907. He was born to two Swedish immigrants that immigrated to Utah in the 80s. And he was the youngest...
1880s.
1880s, yes.
You know, when there was the DeLorean and like Michael Jackson was king.
Yeah, that was in
yeah.
1880s. That's right.
Railroads, pioneers.
So he was the youngest of 13 children. So big family. So he knew what family entertainment was. Probably a little different in 1907 than what it was in 1950.
Here's some sticks and some rocks. Play, kids.
Right.
And apparently he was always drawn to music. And when he went to college, he went to the University of Utah and graduated under musical composition and so on, training under some of the best musical minds in Utah. And after that, he did more studies under the tutelage of Spencer Cornwall, who was the director of the Tabernacle Choir at that time. And he did that until 1927 when he decided, I'm going to move to San Francisco and see what's happening there in the industry of radio and so on. And he started to radio at that time was like TV, and so it was kind of a happening place and lots of things happening. In fact, about 3 or 4 years later, he was the person who orchestrated everything for the first nationwide broadcast originating from the West Coast. So usually everything originated from New York nationwide. This came from the West Coast, and he had developed enough of a reputation that he became the one to orchestrate all the music that was used for this national broadcast. And apparently that's what drew Walt Disney's attention to him. At that time, Walt Disney, this is 1932 now, he's trying to develop his silly symphonies, which are very strong in music, and so he needed more than Frank Churchill working on his music. So
The sound effects guy.
Yeah.
So he hired Lee Harling, and they started to work on the silly symphonies together. Most notably, he probably worked on the Old Windmill.
Or the band concert.
The Old Mill, I think, is that the band concert. He worked on that. He also worked on the Music Land. Obviously,
That's
very
a big
music.
one.
Do you think he did the Goddess of the Spring?
He did do Goddess of the Spring, as a matter of fact. And so he had a lot of good credentials. Frank Churchill got the Three Little Pigs and became very successful with the song "Who's Afraid of the Big Bad Wolf."
I love the little pigs, how they laugh. They're like,
But he followed up with the Grasshopper and the Ants, where the world owes me all with living. Yep.
Became Goofy's theme song.
And so that was kind of like the second big hit for the Silly Symphony song. So he got kind of a hit there. When Disney went to Snow White, he went to Frank Churchill. People say in comparison, Frank Churchill was kind of self-trained in music, whereas Lee Harling was much more
classically
trained, and you could tell his music was much more complete, orchestrated, and a little bit more, some people would say, sophisticated. And so towards the end of making Snow White, Frank Churchill became ill and wasn't available to finish up some of the work, and so Lee Harling came in to, tie up all the loose ends. He says that was a very difficult job because you can't
stuff.
do you.
Right.
It's like
John
John Williams is sick, and now you're called in to fill in for John Williams. He's got his own style, and you've got to fit what you do to make it work in that style. Not to say one's better than the other. It's just there's a different feel.
No,
you listen
yeah.
to different composers, there's a different feel to
Well,
it.
yeah, you can't go like one sounding half movie and then the other half being completely
Even if you did like Hans Zimmer and then you switch to John Williams, you'd be like, whoa, what was that? And then Danny Elfman throws in stuff. You're like, oh, I can't. I'm just like, you start vomiting as they transition.
So it was a difficult challenge for Lee Harlan to do that, but he did work on it, and he got some credit for working on Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. But as Frank Churchill was ill when Pinocchio came along, Lee Harlan was given this is yours, you're going to do the whole thing, and he did, and that included most of the songs, High Diddly Dee was his, I've Got No Strings, and of course, When You Wish Upon a Star. And when they first played that for Walt said, well, you're not going to put that in the middle of my film. It's going to stop everything, Yeah,
it does. The flow does change there.
And so they said, well, it's too good not to use. Let's use it at the beginning credits, and we'll do it at the end. And they said, well, who are we going to get? Well, Cliff Edwards, we already got him to play Jiminy Cricket, so let's have him sing it because he's a singer already. He's a known singer in the 30s, so we'll have him sing it. When he did it, of course, it's magical. And they said, okay, now we've got to change the script now because Jiminy Cricket really didn't have this big part. And so they said, what do we do? How does this work? Jiminy Cricket singing it at the beginning.
Totally influenced the entire movie.
It did. And so they decided, we'll kind of make him the narrator of the show. And that expanded it to where he's basically, there you got Pinocchio, and then there's Jiminy Cricket is the number 2 spot there. So that song changed the movie. Went on to be a great success. Won him an Academy Award for the song. Won him an Academy Award for the orchestration of Pinocchio, the best composer of original music. So he got 2 Academy Awards off of that. After doing that, he pretty much decided he was going to expand his horizon, and he went off to do films for other companies. And so that was really he did some work for Disney, but he was kind of working for all studios at that point. Did a lot of films from, he did Robert Mitchum's The Enemy Below and Gary Cooper, Pride of the Yankees. Those are films that still hold up today, but my favorite thing he did probably come from the 60s, The Seven Faces of Dr. Lao.
Oh, yeah.
Great music in that one, and probably his most magical music outside of Pinocchio, The Wonderful World of Brothers Grimm. It's just a great motion picture as far as the music. The motion picture itself, but the music itself from The Wonderful World of Brothers Grimm, marvelous. He lived till 1969 when he died of cancer, throat cancer. And so that pretty much ended his career. But we owe a debt of gratitude to Lee Harlan and his training to be able to catch the spirit of Disney and the magic of wishing upon a star and putting it to music so that we can feel that spirit today.
It's the best part of any fireworks show. When they put that in the fireworks show, it's the best part because it gives you the warm fuzzies every single time.
Yeah.
I don't want to go last. Well, I only talk about the best finishing song ever. Thanks. Guess it's my turn. I roll. Goodness gracious. I don't trust you for anything now.
Yeah, I fell for that too. Like, it was be the first time he did a Windows.
Okay, so I did Les Clark. Just typed in, Disney Legends, and boom, it's like the first one that popped up. I was like, oh, let's see what this guy did. He's one of the Disney 9 old men.
Yeah.
Just totally. I was like, wow, I got 1 out of 9 here. This is great. I have no clue who this guy is. So he was born in
You didn't get the janitor in Tokyo.
no. Very honorable position there. All right, let's not mock. All right, he was so Les Clark was born 1907 in Utah, Ogden, Utah. He was the oldest of 12 kids.
The oldest, the youngest. Okay.
There we go. Yeah, it's like 12 kids right there. Yeah, so he was the oldest, and somehow their family migrated over to L.A., and his story starts really young with the Disney Company. So his father had been working, and he got in an accident working. He couldn't really work.
His father?
His father, yeah. And so he, during high school, was working at a kind of a soda shop. And this soda shop was across from the Hyperion Walt Disney Studio. And so he would see Walt come in with Roy, and Walt had commented, he was like, your handwriting or your font, your line work is really good. And like,
You want a job?
and he was still in high school, and he was just like taken that Walt Disney liked something he was doing that he did. And so
What high school student? What?
he was just like, I'm just a schoolboy. Like he was, yeah. And I mean, he went to Venice High School, which is on the other side of town, so, I mean, he was working, and, he was getting closer to graduation, and he was like, I'm going to ask Walt for a job. He gave me that compliment. And so he went there, and Walt's like, yeah, I know. He knows him because he sees him every day or every other day. And he goes, where's your portfolio? And he goes like, bring me something. And he didn't have a portfolio. So he went and got like a college humor magazine, and he just started doing like sketches, and he brought it to Walt, and he goes, yeah, you got good line work. Okay, we'll hire you. So he graduates high school on Thursday. Boom. That Monday, he's got a job with the Walt Disney Company.
Cool.
No experience at all besides like, I've got good handwriting and I've got good line work. So he starts.
I never would have gotten a job at Walt Disney.
No.
I would. Here, take the trash, put it outside. Don't screw it up. Put it in Walt's car. So he started as a camera operator. Somehow my autocorrector is like, he started as a camper. And I'm like, no, that's not what it was. He started as a camera operator during the Alice comedies and Oswald. So he's there early.
Wow.
And so he was there. He was working in ink and paint. And so he's learning the trade like early on. From the ground floor. He became an in-betweener for IB Works. Is that his name?
Ub
Works.
iWorks.
Again, it's the autocorrect. I'm sorry if I but yeah, he would do like a partial, and then like he would do the finishing. So he did that with the Gallopin' Gaucho, Steamboat Willie, Plain Crazy.
He worked on all the originals.
He was there in the early parts where he's that, like I said, he's the in-betweener. Like like we talked about how many sheets it takes for like, it was like millions to go through. And so he was an apprentice of the early Mickey Mouse. So his first one that he got recognized was the skeleton dance.
Oh.
And so he drew the scene of the skeleton playing another skeleton's ribcage, like the xylophone. And that one's famous because other animators is like, I saw that scene and I was all like,
Yep.
I've got to work.
It's a very famous short that inspired a lot of people.
Oh yeah. And then there was the fallout
Right.
with Walt. Peter had talked about this in a previous podcast about how Ub was all like, I'm not getting the recognition. I'm going to start my own company. And so he went off. And so with Walt, it's always been next guy up. And so Les became the Mickey Mouse guy.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
No, this
See,
guy.
You've been downplaying your guy. I mean, we got the number 2 Mickey here.
I know, but it's stuff where you're like, oh, wish upon a star. You're like, I'm like, wow, yeah, Disney.
But it all started with the mouse.
It all started with a mouse. There we go. So yeah, Ub left, and then he became the animator, and you could see the shift in Mickey Mouse at that point. Those early to where he takes over, and
It was an improvement.
It was.
I think so.
You have, he starts doing the band concert. He gets recognition for the Goddess of the Springs, the rubbery arms, and he watched that, and he used his sister as a model for that.
She didn't have any bones.
Rubber bones. And I mean, you got to think this is 2 years before Snow White comes out, and so
I always bring that up when I talk about how people like to downplay Snow White, and I go, you look at what they were doing right before Snow White, and then you look at Snow White and you go, Snow White's a masterpiece.
They next level, and so Les, he watched it and he just was so distraught, and he went to Walt and he apologized for how that went.
Wow.
And that was Les, he always felt like he was behind, and so he always felt like he had to elevate his game. And so he was, even though he had the job, he was still going to school and learning, because there are other people who are trained in the arts that came in and brought in their attention.
Frank and Ollie were definitely trained.
Yes.
They were trained, and they knew how to get expression into their drawings, and he was just like, I'm learning on the job training.
I know how to make you a soda.
I can do the menu. Yeah,
I can do cursive, folks.
And so he starts getting, I think that moment with the Goddess of Spring where he realized I need to step up, and you got Snow White, and Peter said it is night and day, and he is in several of the scenes where you got this silly song, including Dopey smashing his face with the cymbals, and Doc playing the horn, and Doc and Happy running from Sneezy and Loud. That's him. And so, I mean, you don't look at Rubber Arms and see that. Some people will comment.
It's amazing that he made that leap in a couple of years. Wow.
And he's people look at that and they're like, there's so much movement with clothing and with the body that you don't see in that animation now. Because they're like, we're going to focus on the face and this, but he's got a full body animation, and that's really his pinnacle that is of animation, which is Sorcerer Mickey and Fantasia. That's his. Since he's Mickey Mouse, he's the Mickey Mouse guy. He got to do this, and it's not.
The clothing was a big part of the whole
That's
thing.
it. And so he was the clothing movement. He gave life to the clothing. You're not even watching really Mickey Mouse. You're watching his sleeve go forward or flapping up as he goes down the stairs, or the weight of the clothing. You could feel it. And so that's where,
wow.
I think that's where it bumped him into the old man status.
God tier. Gotcha.
He was there for that. And so I don't think he really, you start getting more talent that came in. You had the war.
Right.
And he just fit in, and I think he just got overshadowed by all that. And it's tough when you only have this set of skills, and these people come in with all this training, and it's easy as Walt, as he catapults and rockets to he's seeing all this talent. It's hard to compete with that. And so he goes on. He was in Three Caballeros. He did the train scene. The train, the Bahia, I think that's what it is. He did the harp, with and the Fun and Fancy Free.
Mm-hmm.
Did the dancing scene with Cinderella and the Prince, that clothing movement. So Clark also animated Alice in Wonderland. The sequence on the beach with the dodo. He served as he did a lot of animation, and then later he did the leap into directing the animation with A Lady and the Tramp. He was also did the Princess Tiger Lily, so you think of that dancing sequence with her.
Mm-hmm.
The movement with the clothing. It's kind of where he became niched. He's famous for The Wonderful World of Color with Tinkerbell.
Oh,
So he did Tinkerbell for Peter Pan. So he did little stuff, but he kind of got pushed back. And so you get this
Because especially at this time, I mean, this is the time when Walt's starting to transition away from animation.
Yeah, and so he's working there, but like Walt's taking his talents to the parks, and he's taking the Mark Davis, and so it's not everybody who's there at the beginning gets taken there, but he was humble and kept working there, and so. Some of the other old men, he goes, however, the other top guys weren't always so keen on Les, and they kind of downplayed him. They call him like a B animator. Who was it, like Milt Kahl was kind of harsh on him. Because they said he was kind of an explosive kind of perfectionist. And so like, you know, when you see someone who's a perfectionist and looking down at like somebody else who doesn't have the same skills, they can be kind of hard. And you know, you kind of forget like everyone's working for Walt and it's all great with the dream, but it's like I bet you it was really cutthroat with all those animators.
Absolutely. I mean, everyone's trying to seek attention from the big man
Or get opportunities.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so what ended up happening was he kind of got left with the scenes that got pushed to the side, where people are all like, "No, I'm doing the scenes. You can do the leftovers." But he just did it. It was kind of his, you know, Emma. Like I'm just glad
humble.
I got. He was a
He's
humble
very
man,
humble.
and he was appreciative of what he was doing and the opportunity he was given by, you know, a soda jerk kind of guy. And he's working for an animation company from the ground up. That's amazing. And so with, you know, you think of Mickey Mouse and you always think of like, oh, Mickey Mouse is the voice, but it's also the animation. And the personality of the animator comes through Mickey Mouse and how he thinks, how he would express himself. And so he expresses in driving. So in many ways, somebody wrote this, was in many ways, Les Clark was a lot like the main character, Mickey Mouse. He was very humble, low-key, helpful, and had no ego. This made him very suitable for the shy, humble character such as Mickey. And so it's all like, oh, yeah, like, I think he was the right person, the right time, and he, you know, we wouldn't have the Mickey Mouse that we have without Les Clark.
Absolutely.
Mickey Mouse at his pinnacle has got to be Fantasia, his Sorcerer's Apprentice. That's Mickey Mouse, you know.
It is, and I really challenge people to go back and watch that scene, because when you watch it, you're not watching Mickey Mouse. You're watching his clothes move and his, like, the hat going on him. It's just like that is pinnacle Mickey Mouse right there. So yeah, he went on and did like little shorts throughout his career. He ended up retiring like after 48 years at the company. So it was like 1975, and he passed away like 4 years after with lung cancer. You got to think he was in the pit and they were all smoking. There's all that stress and so not saying that he was, but you're just in those rooms that are stuffy. And so so he is recognized as one of the Disney 9 old men. I think it's, you know, may have been de facto since he was there from the beginning, and he was Mickey Mouse, you know, and drawing him. So I thought it was very appropriate that he should have this, you know, this praise. And I was very like surprised, like, wow, I got lucky on picking this. And I was like, this guy definitely needs that recognition of being like the Mickey Mouse guy and all his little works and being who he is for as long as he did at the company. Good for him. Good for him.
Excellent.
Yeah. Let us know what your thoughts are on the Disney legends. Did you learn anything new? Was there anything we missed that you wanted to add in of any cool accomplishments?
We'd love to know.
Yeah.
Please correct us.
You can follow us or interact with us on all of our social medias. You can also email us at matterhornyodlers@gmail.com. And with that being said, have a magical day.
Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of the Matterhorn Yodelers. Please remember, before your bobsled comes to a complete stop, to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And remember...
Remain seated, please. Permanecer sentados, por favor.